Why am I here? Not here in this place, but why am I here? And I really believe that I've come here to learn to process the pain and manage the madness. Cool. You ready? I live in a beautiful place. And there are people who would say that because I live in a beautiful place, life is easy, managing my emotions is easy, handling my feelings is easy. But the truth is, life has its own way of intruding, even in this little fortress of solitude. Here come the birds. Here they are. I have days where I can be very stressed, where there's not enough money, or the car broke down, or I've got to fix something on the house and I got to go up on the roof, which I don't like doing. What I've learned is that I'm in control of how I react and respond to any situation. I have the choice of, am I going to let this ruin my day? There's a great quote from John Lennon about life happening when you're making other plans. And that's really true. Change is inevitable. And the one thing I have learned is that to allow the change to be, because I can't fight it. This is what it is right now. And there's nothing I'm going to do that's going to change this circumstance right now. So all I can do is accept it. Over time, a lot of things have shifted for me. Used to be quite an impatient person, and one of my dad's favorite sayings was, "Hey, Michael, either be patient or become a patient." And that's really stayed with me, over the years. So patience, acceptance, tolerance. I'm softer now. I've learned that anger doesn't serve me. It just diminishes me. It's difficult sometimes, particularly when you grow up a street kid who's big and strong and was able to use that size and strength in order to settle arguments. When you're 23 years old and somebody's giving you a hard time and they wake up on the ground, the argument's over. But that me no longer serves me, because I hate how I feel when I let myself get that angry. And I recognize that it's a choice. There's a moment when I can either let the rage emerge, or I can go, ha ha ha, trying to get me. I'm not going to be there, because I'm going to be sick for days inside if I allow myself to experience that. When I'm in a challenging situation, my first response is often my oldest response, which is to get angry, to yell, be insecure, and build myself up because I'm feeling diminished within myself. So I recognize those things now, but I've had a lot of years to work on them. One of the things I've learned from an old Scottish friend of mine, when he went to bed at night, and he would say, "Dear Lord, please help me be less of an asshole tomorrow than I was today." And it's not a bad philosophy, to kind of incrementally improve. But it took a lot of practice. And it takes daily practice still. Now I've trained myself to take that breath before I act. Sometimes my head is so far up my butt that all I can see is brown. I definitely sometimes have to remind myself to look up. Look out and look up, because I'm caught up in stupid doom scrolling reels on my device, or I'm lost in a book in a corner somewhere, and I have to remind myself to look up, see the sky, allow the mountains to speak to me. I wrote a song, it's called Walk. When I wake up alone and afraid, and the spirits are willing to face the day, the noise in my head is far too loud, and I feel like I'm gonna die. Well, I get myself up, put my shoes on, and take myself outside, and I walk. I get my head up and open my eyes and listen to the voice inside. Many years ago, I started working with a therapist and came to him one day and said, there's times when I'm not worried about anything. There's times when I'm okay. And he said, well, do you know what that's called? And I said, no, that's why I'm talking to you. And he says, that's called serenity. And it starts with just microseconds of it. And if you can focus on those microseconds of serenity, then you can learn to expand that serenity into a place of peace within yourself, no matter what's going on in the external world. I'm still working on it, but I have longer stretches now of times when I am at peace. I also still have times when I'm not. The washing machine brain that just wants to go into the spin cycle and tumble constantly. So it's a process for me. Life is a process, and I try to get better at it. And life continues to give me opportunities to improve. When I think about what makes me anxious at this stage of my life, I'm afraid of being infirm and a burden. The physical is the one that's the biggest challenge, and the mental is one of the ones that scares me. I would like to not have to experience Alzheimer's and dementia. I forgot the cat's name the other day, and it freaked me out I couldn't remember Ricky's name. And that's common as one gets older. The best explanation I ever heard for that is, as the hard drive gets full, pulling out the data becomes more challenging. And I'll take that as a reasonable out. It's only in recent years that I've had to confront the acceptance of the change in my body. Up until even 5 years ago, I've always been really robust and very strong. I used to joke that I could walk to Cairo if I needed to. The truth is I couldn't walk to Cairo today if I needed to. I'm learning to accept the inevitability of these changes and then adapt. When I used to cut the lawn, I used to cut that lawn out there in the back of this house with a manual rotary push mower. And I could cut it until it was done. And now I have a power mower, and I do this section, and then I'll sit down and I'll have a nice glass of cold water, and I'll relax for 15 or 20 minutes, and then I'll do the next section. And then I'll recognize, I might not get the whole lawn cut today, but I will get the whole lawn cut before it's out of control. I no longer have to approach it like I'm 35, because I'm not. I'm twice that and then some. And I've had to learn to accept the changes that are happening. They're inevitable. The cliche is nobody here gets out alive, and that's really true. I've lived a good life. I live a good life, but I've lived a good life. I've done a lot of really cool things. I've had wonderful opportunities. I've made some great music. I've known some beautiful places, and I've had real love. Among the things that work really well for Nicole and I is that we try to open the day together. We try to close the day together. That's pretty much non-negotiable whenever we're in the same space. We enjoy being with each other together more than anything else. We share our love with each other frequently, because we're both people who not only need to express it, but we need to hear it. And one of the things that is a ritual, but it's a true ritual, is Nicole and I never leave each other without saying, I love you, and it's a real I love you. Every night, the last thing I say to Nicole is, I'll see you in the morning, I love you, and that's a promise. Whoa, so bad one time it put my face in a permanent frown. Now I'm feeling so much better. I could cakewalk in the town. I woke up this morning feeling so good that I laid back down again. So throw your big leg over, mama, I might never feel this way again. Oh, my baby, oh, my baby, you know I love the way she you walk. And when the little girl gets sleepy, I love her baby talk. I had the blues, whoa, so bad one time it put my face in a permanent frown. But now I'm feeling so much better, I could cakewalk. I'm so happy I could cakewalk. Feels so good, I'm gonna cakewalk into town.
Thank you so much for watching the story all the way to the end. And a special thank you to all of you on Patreon who help us to make these films. If you want to join us on the journey, please click the link over here, I think. It just wouldn't be possible without you. Thank you.